Hello everybody, hope everybody is doing well. I decided to make a couple of quick videos so that you can have a good understanding of how to build a lighting plate for a truck. I know that when we were last together in school, we were working on trailer lighting. A lot of you completed a nice task with using a 4-wire plug, and you installed some tail lights and some running lights. So I'm going to show you how to make something a little bit more complicated. This will probably be in a couple of parts, the series. I'm going to start out basically with the template. We've always talked about making templates in school, so I made a template out of some cardboard, which is not my favorite material to work with. Unfortunately today that's all I could find. It did work pretty well, and I was able to use obviously a ruler, tape measure, a compass. I actually had a couple of those different going, and I had a pair of scissors and a knife, and that razor knife. All of these basic tools are something you can pick up at Home Depot or Lowe's, or you may be able to find around your garage at home or at your home. So what I did was I took the measurements off of the trailer, and I was able to take those measurements, transfer them directly to a piece of cardboard. Then I shaped the cardboard to what I would like. Then I went out to the trailer and I checked it to make sure that it fit. It fit fairly well. As you know, working with the corrugated cardboard, it's difficult to get a perfect fit. I actually like using construction paper. So then I went to a piece of sheet stock stainless steel. Stainless is one of my favorite properties. It's a little bit more difficult to work with than the standard aluminum that we use a lot in school. I choose the aluminum because it's an acceptable surface. It cleans up well, it's polishable, and it's easy to fabricate and drill and weld for some. The stainless gets a little bit more difficult, especially during the welding process, cutting, shaping, and drilling. It requires different types of drill bits, different sharpening points, things of that nature. There's a couple of basic pieces of stainless steel that I like to use. I like to use the 304, which is kind of your home grade stainless steel. It's probably found like on toasters and refrigerators and things like that. It's a general stainless steel that works well for a lot of properties. My favorite is the 316. It's a 316. That's in the 300 series. It's good for chlorine, it's good for rust, it's polishable, it's very hard, heat resistant. It's great to work with when you want a finished product. So in this video, I took this and I've started to cut them out. I know a lot of you have been starting to use the plasma cutter in school. You may or may not know, but I have my own plasma cutter at home, my own TIG welder. As you know, I like to do a lot of those things, not only just as a hobby, but I also make a little extra money with all of those things, and we've talked about that. All these extra skills that you can learn will be beneficial for you in the future, and can be used in a lot of different applications. So I fit my stainless. I went out to the sheet stock, I cut it out with the plasma cutter, and then I've been grinding and shaping and getting it, cutting the edges off so it's not so sharp. This is the back edge, okay? And then when I'm done, these are all rough cut. Now I've got to grind them in. If you notice, I cut to just the inside of the line. By doing that, I didn't go outside. I didn't overcut. In my grinding, I'm using basically a 4.5-inch grinder. This one is actually a Makita that I purchased from probably Home Depot. It's a pretty decent grinder. They hold up pretty well. They do turn a little bit higher RPM than some of the other grinders. I tend to like them. Some people have different grinders that they like better, but the Makita seems to hold up pretty well for me. And then basically this is a Cobalt die grinder, right angle die grinder. We use them in school. Probably should disconnect that so that no one gets hurt. This die grinder here, and you can see that I put a straight or cylindrical type carbide bit on it, and I'm able to use that for shaping. And as you know, when you use this, there's a lot of small shavings that hurt. They get stuck in your fingers. So you want to use a good quality glove. I went up to Lowe's to see if they had something. They had some cobalt gloves. These gloves seem to work out pretty good. They protect my hands well. I've got my safety glasses. I've got my hearing protection. I'm using some little foam earplugs. And then I open the door to get ventilation. So by doing that, I've gotten everything roughed in. And then to make sure that I'm doing really well as I go along, I want to take this stainless and I want to start to polish it. So polishing this gets interesting. You could start out with sandpaper and you start with one grade and then you move up. So you never start with a too coarse of a paper. You're going to start, I actually started with probably around 800, and then I've been working my way up from there. 800, 1500, 2500. And then when I got up to where I felt was decent enough so that I could start to polish, I'm using another Makita tool with a Renegade buffing wheel on it. Okay, and you can dress the wheel, and then you can use some different rouges for the different types of finish that you're looking for. I'm going to show you all how to do this in a later date to finish up, but what I will show you is when you're finished, after you've been sanding and polishing, this is the type of finish that you will end up with. It's pretty amazing. It takes a lot of work. I'll be honest, there's probably 4 hours in this panel. But it's a good skill to have, and in the end, it will be an excellent fit, good look, and it will be functional. So we're going to get into some of how to build this from the sheet stock and then go all the way through the polishing in my next video. But I just wanted to introduce you to this tonight and give you an idea of what you can do with all of those tools that we've talked about that are very important for you to purchase, or if you have them, if you're fortunate enough that you have a friend that has them. But also, I want to talk about safety before you get going. Your eyes are very important. Your hearing is very important. You need to make sure you have great ventilation. You have to have something for fire safety. You need to make sure that you're working safely and that no one's going to get hurt. And you also you want to protect everyone around you. You might have a friend or somebody who walks up that's really not understanding what you're doing, and they're not prepared for maybe a welding flash or a grinding wheel that might throw a piece of debris. So you just want to make sure that you have plenty of area around you, and you want to make sure that you've let everybody know exactly what you're doing and what the overall expectation is. I've made myself a plywood workbench because that's what I've had to use this week. It's not exactly the best scenario for this type of work, but I've been multitasking with a lot of different things, and we're going to talk about some of the measurement. The measurement you can do in basic 1/16 on this job. This job is not something that you're measuring down to thousandths of an inch with a micrometer or anything like that. This is basically a ruler, a tape measure. You're measuring in 1/16, and I know that you all know that in 1/16 there's 16 1/16 in an inch, and you want to count them out if you're not real good with that. Some of you are really excellent, and some of you struggle with that a little bit. Just take a ruler and lay the ruler out, and then draw it out and mark them and count them right up 1 through 16, and leave a little index mark and put the fractions. You can actually add the decimal points if you want to do that, so that you'll know where you're at. That will really help you. You can make yourself a little flow chart, so to speak. As you know, graphic organizers are great for all of us. We all use them at some level or another, and that would be helpful to you, especially if you're trying to measure or figure out the center of something and going from there. Centering the circles is a little bit more difficult. You need to draw some lines, almost like a grid, horizontal, vertical. Get yourself in the center before you start. Double check everything before you cut anything. That's very important. That's critical. Because if you don't do that and you get off just a little bit, you'll be upset with the finished product. This is one of those things, like I talked to you about, when you're working, even when you're in the shop and you're working on a vehicle. If you take the extra time during the preparation, the final product will come out much better. So that's what I have for you for this evening. I want you to, stay focused. I want you to think about all the tools. A couple of you I have seen, and I know that you are buying tools, and that's excellent. I think that's a great thing to be doing because your future, you're going to need all of these things, and without tools, you just can't complete the task that is in front of you. So I wanted to thank you for joining me, and have a great night. I'll see you soon.